Welcome to Podcast This Escape, the podcast where we talk about the escape room we escaped from in the previous episode of this podcast. Kara, Jay, you did it! Congratulations!
We did it!
We did. I got to destroy a bunch of things, so I'm very happy.
Yes.
Oh, well done.
I feel like we kind of cruised through that, maybe.
Oh, you did great. Look, I think a recording got fairly long, but I was just saying to Danny, like, the actual room solving just smashed through it. We just took a lot of breaks to have tangents and chat and hang out, which was lovely. It was great. But in terms of like the room, yeah, there were no problem moments.
This room is largely, there aren't many puzzles or anything. There are only really 4 challenges in this room. It's not a very long one, but a good amount of the challenge at the start and the end is getting in the same headspace as me, getting on the same wavelength about what stupid solution is the correct one here. And you two had no problem with that.
I'm going to take that for the compliment that I think it was meant to be. Thank you. My big thing when we started was just trying to figure out what step 1 was inevitably going to be, you know, because we're looking in this one room. You mentioned this offshoot in the grate area and then didn't go into detail on that. There was this big narrative at the beginning. So I wasn't really sure. I don't even know if it was step 1, what step 0 was there at first until Kara just started rifling off. Can we see this? Can we see this? Can we see this? And we ran out of things to do other than move into that other room. And that's kind of when the ball started rolling.
This is, I think, a side effect of how I've been traumatized by the film Reroll, that I have such terrible luck with rolling dice and trying to ever have a plan or idea that I try and delay that portion as long as possible in the hopes that just in the course of looking around the room, something will just shake loose and I never have to get involved.
Well, honestly, for these kinds of escape rooms that we do, that's usually the best thing to do. Some of the stuff that can catch people up is when they find 1/3 of a puzzle and then they go, stop everything! I've got to sit here and stare at this for 25 minutes trying to figure out exactly how to solve it. And you're thinking, hey, there's a chart on the wall that you need and you haven't looked at the wall chart yet. Please keep looking.
See, I thought that's where we were going to be with the poster puzzle with the transposition cipher, because we had, 8 or 9 letters, depending on how you want to count them, but we didn't have everything. So in my head, I'm thinking, 1, maybe I've done enough puzzle hunts. Maybe I've done enough crosswords that I can, brute force this. And I don't know if that's the intended solution or not, but damn it, I'm going to try. Or 2, am I missing the forest for the trees? And if I just look on the back of the poster, there's, a whole substitution cipher just waiting for us. And we never got to that step 2.
Yes, and that was an interesting one because I had the same sort of thought when I was playtesting this, right? It's I've got this long message. Could I just figure it out? You see double letters or you see words that all end with the same sort of letter.
There are
you think
lots
that
of
could be
3-letter words to throw you.
3-letter word, all that sort of stuff where you can start to be, there's a K by itself, right? In the line, one man with a hat, K is A, and straight away that K is going to have to be
A or I, probably.
Because there's only 2 1-letter words. There's nothing else that it could be. It's a single word that is the one letter.
How much could you get
so
that?
I thought maybe that's what you have to do. And it's partially what you have to do, right? We give you enough letters to get started, but then you do have to do that for the rest.
If this were, if I were going just that little bit more intense, if I were going for more a puzzle hunt level and not trying to make it accessible, I would have given you absolutely nothing except the poster and just gone, yeah, look at that hyphenated one at the end. There aren't many words that can be.
Right.
There's a hyphen. It's probably a number.
There's a bunch of the same letter in there in a couple different places. And honestly, if I didn't think it would have been a bad puzzle for a podcast experience, I probably would have assumed that this had to be brute force start to finish and would have sat here for 40 minutes quietly jotting letters down and then getting frustrated because I know, Kara, you were trying to figure out hat and we got to bat and hat from different directions. So, there were a lot of red herrings in here to be had.
The biggest red herring was one that I gave myself, which is let's use the Google Doc find and replace method. This is going to be so convenient and easy. And I just immediately backed myself into the worst corner. And I have so many notes. If I'd done it on paper, my life would have been so much easier. But no, I can do this.
Jay, was there ever any point in your translation of that you went, this doesn't feel right. Like getting the word thumbless
Yes,
or
That
anything.
was
Thumbless is
the
an odd
one word that really kind of threw me off at first. I was dancing around it. I'm looking back at your art, making sure that I wrote the letters down correctly in my notepad. I'm like, I have a T and an H and then like an L and a couple S's. What the heck could fit there in the middle? And eventually just getting the rest of it, it had to be thumbless just through context.
Yes, but it is odd, and it's the only B and it's the only U, which is very wild. Like they don't put the two weirdest letters in the word thumbless. There's no better clue for them anywhere else. So it is a funny little kind of endpoint.
But thumbless would have confirmed it for me if I had
you
been
said
doing it
that
properly.
earlier on. I was
And that's
so
how, like-
happy and trying not to express happiness at how you described that symbol.
Very good poker face. I just always I've done other like puzzle video games, and there's always a thing with symbols, and the only way I can ever like remember or understand them is if I do that. If I'm like, all right, there's a little, there's an A but with a bow tie.
Yes,
There's like an
absolutely.
M if it was depressed. Stuff like that.
This is what I want people to do when I do weird pictures.
So if I
I'm very
had
happy.
had the good sense to do it the way, this is why I'm so glad that neither of us had to do this by ourselves.
Right? No, because we
Jay was
combined
there
there
to be
very
smart
much
with
for sure.
ciphers. Yeah, Jay had the smart code breaking skills, and I thought that a line thing looked like a little hand, but no thumb.
Well, I completely
powers
forgot that we
combined.
had those symbols to work with in the first place. It wasn't even that, I didn't have them like visually descripted for me well, because you did such an awesome and weirdly on-brand job of describing them, and they're
thank
sitting right above my cipher on my screen. I just forgot to look up and go, oh, that probably connects to that.
It's actually really nice to be doing like a little RPG adventure that is specifically puzzle based, because so many of my RP experiences, there are puzzles, but they don't always announce themselves as such. And so you get really, or I at least get really acclimated to the idea that like, well, this is just a situation. There isn't necessarily an answer that the GM has put in there for you, which breaks you, or at least it breaks me of the mindset that like, I just have to figure out the brilliant thing.
Yeah.
And so instead I just spend a lot of time looking at my inventory. Like I do that on the reroll constantly. I'm just like, okay, I have no smart ideas. Let me read my sheet for the 19th time.
Like, what would MacGyver do in this instance?
It's like the moment in Community.
Yeah.
I throw my additional notes.
Yes. Yes.
But it's true. We've talked about this before on these, like, that puzzles in RPGs can be quite difficult because, like this, when we do an escape room version, it is puzzle solving. There is an answer, and you're sifting through, you're looking at the clues to figure that out. Whereas
and
so
almost
often
like
in
the
RPGs,
worst thing you can do playing is try to figure out the alternate end around solutions, because then poor Danny has to improvise.
But also,
Which I notoriously am not good at.
In tabletop
you
role
saw
playing,
me when you talked about the pants. I had nothing.
True. But in tabletop role playing, you're not puzzle solving. You're problem solving. It's like, oh, there's an issue. I'm going to come up with a way to fix it. There's not the way. It's the way that I have my hand, like on what I've got in my inventory, what I can do. I'm going to come up with like an efficient solution. Like, so you're not looking for the thing. It's just you're looking for a thing, and usually that's often like, how do you problem solve getting through a door? You kick the door down, or you make a new door, or you go somewhere else. How do you puzzle solve getting through a door? You find the secret thing that's hidden that will open the door. And so it's like a different attitude, and it can be often hard if you're expecting your players to shift from one to the other. So often people are like, I wrote a beautiful puzzle for my D&D game, and then the players don't find it, or they don't interact with it, or they don't care, because like that's not the game they're playing. They're playing problem solving, which is usually like in an escape room. In real life, how do you escape from an escape room? Well, there's an emergency exit button next to the door. You hit that, they open it for you. You get out.
Wave
in 10
your hands in the
seconds.
camera, and they let you out.
That's problem solving. That's how you do it. And so it's a different dynamic. So it is fun to be able to play in a puzzle focused one. So you actually get to interact with that in a way that is often hard to make happen in a normal game.
Yeah, but
That's such a beautiful and elegant distinction: puzzle solving and problem solving.
Yeah, it only
love
took
that.
us 5
really
years
like
to figure it out.
And I'll say from the GM perspective, it's probably easier to make it a problem-solving thing because then you don't have to know that there is a solution. You can just
You
throw
can throw
your
a
characters into a situation, make up the environment as you see fit, and then just watch the little puppets dance.
Yeah. But it's true.
Some people work really well that way.
And I think so often when you are like running a game or designing a game, that is a better way to go about it. You go, I'm going to come up with a couple of barriers, a couple of problems. I don't need to come up with the solutions for these. I just need to know from a like what is true in this universe perspective of here are what the problems are. It's the player's job to come up with solutions. They will come up with stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Wasn't that great? That should work. But like, you don't. It's much worse if you, as a game master, are sitting there being like, will they find my one solution that I came up with? Because they're going to come up with their own stuff anyway. So it's better to just have. You do this when you're writing your games. I feel like when you used to run.
Yeah, absolutely.
For us,
you come up with a problem, and then maybe you say, all right, if they try to solve it in a strengthy sort of way, maybe this is the sort of thing that could go on. If they, and you can come up with potential paths, and I'm, way too over-organized with that sort of stuff. I suck at improvising. I can't leave anything open, so I just try to come up with every possible solution they could come up with. And work with that. But yeah, the idea of in an RPG, never come up with one solution to a problem.
Yeah, because it's not the same. People don't want that. People want to have fun.
Oh, and they'll never find it in the first place.
Exactly, right? They're not going to come up. They're not going to find it. They're going to do some weird thing. They're going to look through the weird spell they have that you didn't notice. It's like, my character can actually make all walls turn into living snakes. Ah, damn it!
Well, we have this locked door, and I have this key-shaped piece of metal. So what I'm going to do is put it through my knuckles, and I'm going to threaten the guard to kick it down.
Yeah, hold the key and use it as knuckle duster.
Oh, have you seen I don't know if it's a Vine or a TikTok or a YouTube. It's a video. It's a short video of a woman who's a product tester. And she's watching on one screen, and on the other screen, there's just a shot of like this cup with a lid. You know what I'm talking about?
I have seen this. Oh,
and it's got like a circle hole and a triangle hole and like a weird like bridge shaped hole. It's all these different holes. And then, okay, let's pick up the guy's like, let's pick up a square block. Where does that go? And she's like, in the square hole, in the square hole. Good, good, good. They pick up the triangle block. Where does that go? The triangle hole. That's right. In the square block, and just turns to the side and puts it through the square block.
The
and it
square
turns
hole
out
just
every
fit them
single one of them goes through and you just watch her like
devastated.
lose her mind. It's one of the most like elegant demonstrations of no plan survives contact with the enemy.
I feel like I've seen variations on that theme in memes and stuff, but I don't think I've seen the original video. I want to check that out.
That is fun.
But yeah, so for this one, the two big worries, I was worried that people wouldn't get on my wavelength enough. And in playtesting, it went fine in this way as well. The idea of using the screws to make a ding sound, wasn't sure if people would get that. You had no problem.
I will say you did so much better than I did, because I spent quite a long... I can't get into that room. I go down the other passage. I can't get into that room. Well, that's it. I'm done now. I have no option. What are you talking about?
Mission accomplished.
I can't get into either room. I'm stuck in the vent forever. And Dan would be like, it was a metallic ding. Also, like if I drop the screw in. And the one thing that didn't come up with yours specifically that I needed to think about it, because I was like, well, the screw like hitting a wall isn't going to make a metallic ding. And I had to be reminded in the language that we were in a metal vent, like the vent itself was metal. That we were in like a metal, and I was if I drop the screw in here, that might make the same sort of. But it took me much longer of just being like, what are you talking about? How dare you? There's nothing to do in this room. I'm done. I'm going home.
But then my bigger worry was that no one would end up on the same wavelength as me for deciding, all right, how are we going to get the pot out? Duh, flood the place until the glass cracks. I was worried that just wasn't going to be a thing that would enter anyone's mind.
Well,
Kara had that reveal right away.
I mean, that wasn't me being like a genius or anything. God knows. That was, I mean, you described it so perfectly, right? You press the fire button, fire goes, then fire stops. But water doesn't stop. Huh, interesting. Why might it not stop? And then you said in that perfect, like, give us just enough information so it's not beating you over the head, but that like when later the solution is revealed, you can't go back and say there weren't clues, because you did say, like you said that it goes so long that some of it starts to go into the vent. Like that's...
Yeah, I missed that in the description, so I'm really glad that you picked up on that, Kara.
Again, I don't like having ideas. I like just listening, observing, and waiting for the game to give itself away.
That's perfect.
But that's also like we always talk about that is this audio medium's version of searching in an escape room. Right?
Yeah.
That's its own skill in escape rooms, is being able to search well. And in ours, it's being able to listen out and catch the keywords
that are secretly important.
Because things are always connected by keywords or little lines of description or throwaway bits. That's the searching when you can't physically like look through. And in a real escape room, that's also a great skill. A lot of people are great at solving puzzles, but then they'll be like, oh, I checked that chair 8 times, there's nothing on it. And then someone else walks up and says, what about this huge key taped to the bottom?
Did you check under the cushion?
Fool. Like, it's its own skill. And like, that's the same version. And you were very good in this at the audio searching and being like, oh, that's the same as this. Oh, that's could be. I heard you say this water vent thing. I'll lock that away for later. I'll add the screws to my inventory. Like that's not a throwaway thing. That's part. And so it's a good balance. And it's the same sort of skill set you need in a real escape room as well.
I'm curious, have you ever had any guests with aphantasia? The
Yes.
inability to... Yeah, so what is that like?
Bizarrely, didn't really notice that much.
No, I didn't
They're very
really
good at
notice.
hiding it.
That doesn't surprise me, oddly. Like,
They
as
have-
someone who does not have it, the imagining having aphantasia seems like it would be... It's like, the first time I met someone with synesthesia, I was like, oh my god, what's that like? They're like, it's normal.
Yeah, it's
It's
That's
normal.
a funny
That's
one.
fine. Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, I run
so,
into that every
like,
time I explain being colorblind. They're like, what do you see? I'm like, the same thing as you, but apparently worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. One of them says a couple of friends of ours who have been on a couple of times with aphantasia. One of them did say that what they noticed was more helpful was the last arc, which was basically set in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And they said because they already have a visual of that.
Oh,
Because they
yeah.
can tie it to an actual scene that they've seen. But also, like, I've always thought about this, that we just there's a thing that we do when we play these games that we don't actually need to do, which is we draw the room out and we look at how things are oriented in the space and we picture ourselves in that little map that we draw.
Mhm.
You could very, very easily play this room and not draw anything and just write, every time Danny says there's a new object, just write it down in a dot point list. And then go back through those and see, what have I not looked at? I've got a dot point list. Like the
doesn't
map
work for me, though. I need that
the
map. I
moving
like
through the
it.
physical space is kind of mostly, almost
It's just for fun.
always, it's kind of superfluous. Like you could just be like, I know that in this room, I don't even care where they are. I've got a poster, a control panel, a briefcase. I write down a list of those objects and I look back at my list and I go to each of those in turn. But it's fun to like be in the space. Be like the amount of times it's like, well, I'm standing right there, so I guess I'll check the phone.
Yeah,
It's
you
no
said
easier to
you
check the
said
phone
that.
than to
You
go to the
absolutely
other
said
side.
that at the start when you were observing items. You said, "Well, let's just go around in order.
Yeah,
like
but
we'll
it's-
go to the poster
yeah,
next."
yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
you know, it takes exactly as much time to be like, I walk across the room and I check the pod as, well, the briefcase is next to me, so I check that. There's no practical difference, but you feel it. You're like, I'm not walking all the way over there. Like, you're not really walking, but it's a big thing.
Yeah. If I can briefly flex my my theater MFA, there's this whole idea that like in quote unquote classical theater, you know, pretty much everything pre-modern, the reason that a lot of the language is so highly poetic and highly descriptive is because they didn't usually have much in the way of sets for a variety of reasons. And part of the reason that's tough for us now is we don't have that practice. But like 400 years ago, those audiences had grown up understanding that you see with your ears.
Ah, that's
Like the
I
reason
hadn't thought about it
that
too much
Shakespeare
in that
wrote
way.
like that, yeah, like the fact that they didn't have scenery was not an issue for them because they didn't need it.
Ah, that's great. I
Yeah, it's one of
love
those things that makes a lot of sense when somebody tells it to you, but I don't know that I would have ever put that two and two together without
yeah, of
the
course,
guidance.
exactly.
Yeah, well, all you have to do is give a building $120,000 and cry for 3 years, and you too could know these things.
We all learned it now. We stole it from you. We
Yeah,
stole
'cause
your
I'm-
knowledge for free.
Because I'm dismantling the state. I'm
Yeah, bring it
dissolving
down from within.
capitalism.
I'm here for it.
Perfect.
Information wants to be free.
All right, now just to finish up storyline wise with this book, did you see that that's where it was going, Billy?
I didn't know
the story.
I didn't know. So I did the playtest, but we got to the outro, and Danny's like, and then the outro happens, so that I could experience at the same time as you. A big new alien ship has landed, made of fiberglass. So presumably just shoot water at it.
Fiberglass-like material.
We're just going to fire some water at this thing.
You know it's not fiberglass anymore because it destroys itself in water.
This entire ship is just the aliens from Science. We're just going to spray some water.
Yeah.
I missed you. That's funny. The second we got outside of the room,
not your problem anymore.
It was totally unconscious. I guess after that whole spiel I just did about like I'm listening very closely, blah blah blah. I just stopped, I guess, because I did not hear you say fiberglass material. That's
I don't know if you did actually for the one that landed. I suppose I'm just assuming that it's going to be the same as the thing that hit our pod.
Yeah,
I think maybe when it landed,
in the same boat. As soon as I figured out that we were, we're in the outro now. We don't have to be thinking anymore and problem solving. I'm like, all right, I'm going to let Danny go through her spiel. This is the part where the ADHD kind of kicks in. And I'm like, I know words are coming, but I'm going to pick out like every third one of them. And fiberglass was not one of the third words.
No,
I don't actually know if you described it as fiberglass.
I wouldn't
I'm just
have
assuming
because it's not fiberglass. It's something that you initially thought might have been fiberglass. But then when it destroyed itself in water, you figured, okay, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, but I'm saying...
this is tearing us apart.
I'm assuming this alien ship that has landed is made of the same stuff. And that's why
that is a reasonable assumption.
So we think we just spray it with a hose and we're done. That's the next room. Just find a hose. Aliens destroyed.
We have a hose. We have a water tank.
Yeah, what's it going to
anymore? Not anymore. The mothership landed on top of it.
That's right. I thought it landed in a different part of the bear car park, which for some reason was less bear than I thought it was.
I do like that. I didn't expect there to be other aliens. I really thought the last room was going to be like, now we fly into space to try and get home and something happens on the way.
But there's no better twist than an alien invasion, especially when you're have specifically been set up to think the alien invasion is not really a thing because you're a nice alien.
I do love it.
Like, wouldn't it have been wild if halfway through E.T. it turns into Mars Attacks?
It would be fun.
That's the reroll version of E.T.
That's shockingly accurate. At almost exactly the halfway point, it becomes Independence Day.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Perfect. We were just listening to some friends of ours have a show called Cancelled Movie Report, and they were doing a little thing based on the E.T. 2 little spec kind of idea, like a write-up for a sequel to E.T., and it is just like... New ETs arrive. Oh, but they're bad ETs. Oh, they're going to get you. And it's just very funny.
E.T. the new batch.
Yeah, it very much feels that way. These albino carnivorous ETs. And they're going to eat some animals to show you how mean they are. And they're going to capture some kids. And it's going to be... And it's very weird. They're all looking for E.T. And it's like, E.T. went home. It's like, no, he didn't. Oh, he got to be somewhere here. It was very fun.
But yeah, maybe like
down. So I'm excited. I have no idea what the last room's going to be like. I guess we have to fight some aliens. But I'm very excited to see how it all finishes.
Look at that poker face.
Right? She won't say anything. Hey, let's make
nothing.
Let's stare at Danny and make some suggestions. The aliens can. It just turns into a rival. And it's just a linguistic puzzle the entire time. It's just one long linguistics puzzle about aliens.
3-dimensional substitution cipher, yeah.
Is that it? We'll never know.
See, I think this is such a cool format for how to run this show. But I'm just like, but I don't get to do oh no.
No, you'll have to just listen along like everybody else.
No.
I feel like we won. Our reward should be to continue on. It's like a game show, right?
Yeah. You stay on until you fail the room, then we kick you off and get someone new. Winner plays on.
I think it's a really cool format. I love it.
I feel like it means that you get to feel more connected to the other people in your arc.
I'm very exciid to listen.
Good point. Are Daniel Mullins.
Yeah, we're emotionally invested now.
Well, look, we should probably leave it there.
Yeah, Jay, you got business to attend to.
But it was very fun to have the two of you on. You did very well getting through the room.
It was an absolute pleasure. I feel like somehow we haven't talked about it much, but it feels like it's been a long time coming somehow.
True.
It feels like this has just made sense.
So I'm glad that you've made it on.
I'm so glad that you reached out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad that Jay invited me.
Yeah, good.
It's all worked out very well. Before you head off, for people who wanted to find more of what you're doing, where would you like to send them? Jay, do you want to go first to just say where people can find you online and things that you're doing?
Yeah, sure can. So there's a couple key ways to find me. First and foremost, like I mentioned in the earlier episode, I stream on Twitch 5 nights a week. That's twitch.tv/liquid_courage. And I cannot stress enough how much courage is spelled with the letter K. Otherwise, you will not find me. The joke I have is courage is spelled with a K because copyright is spelled with a C. But the other primary way that you can interact with my work in the trivia world is through a project I started at the beginning of the year called the World Trivia Federation. It's an online asynchronous league, so you don't have to log in at a particular time. Quizzes are all optional. They just kind of work through Google Forms at the moment. And I give access to that through my Patreon for $2 a month or more at patreon.com/liquidcourage. No underscore, still a K.
Excellent.
Wonderful. And there'll be links to those in the show notes. And Kara, where can people find the stuff that you're doing?
So I'm also on Twitch, twitch.tv/oh hey it's Kara, Kara being Kara. I stream Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
My
8 p.m.
God, you're
Eastern.
crazy too.
I mean, I gotta make that paper. That's all I can tell you. But yeah, it's a really, I'm so jealous that Jay can explain their show being like, yeah, I do trivia. And everyone's like, oh, I get what that is. And people are like, Kara, what's your show? I'm like, man, it's just, we hang around. Sometimes I play games, but doesn't really, it's just, we just got a lot of like queer people talking at once and it's a nice time. Just come on by. It's nice.
That fits into our show's demographics a ridiculously huge amount.
Perfect. And then I'm on Instagram at OMG It's Kara, Twitter at Oh Hey It's Kara, but I guess Twitter's on fire now. And this episode will be out in a couple of weeks. Let's see where it's gone then. Yeah. And if people are interested, I just finished post-production on a short film called Vibrator Girl, which hopefully will be making some festival appearances soon. And you can find us on Instagram at Vibrator Girl Film.
Hell yeah.
Wonderful. All right. And for people who want to help support this show, first of all, tell a friend. Go leave a review, tell a friend, go tell people who you don't know. And just be like, just go into random places on the internet and say, hey, everyone, go listen to this show. That's how you do it. This is called viral marketing. You can also support the show by signing up for the Patreon. Anybody at any level can appear as an NPC in one of Danny's rooms.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Carolyn Hardman and Todd Gelden, Patreon donors who are in this room.
Yes.
Yeah. Alien, sci-fi loving, maybe government agents. Maybe they're just doing their own thing.
Maybe just gas-loving creeps.
Yep.
With weird blood stuff and no pants.
Yeah, weird blood creeps. Also, for our $5 donors, there's a whole bunch of extra audio fun. You can listen to all the playtests for the rooms that we do. You can listen to our other series of 2-minute mysteries where we try and solve Donald J. Sobel 2-minute mysteries. And it's very weird and wild. And the current law is that it's impossible to touch a sheriff if you're innocent. So the way to test people for guilt is to make it's a whole big thing. You've got to listen to the show. It's weird.
We've just started recently for donors at any level you can get involved in. I've got an interactive fiction being posted page by page where you get to vote on what choices the character makes.
Yes, so that's fun for all of our patrons as well. There are badges for $10 donors and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. So go and check that out if you can. You also go and check out Solve This Murder as well, our second show where we solve murder mysteries. The latest one will have finished up recently, so you can listen to the whole thing in its entirety, where I take on the role of the crime scene criminal and witnesses, and Danny plays detective and tries to solve a murder mystery. So go and check that out. And that's it. Go do all those things and then have a rest. Listen to everything we've made, then just have a quick rest. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Kara and Jay, for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny, for running it.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye, everybody.